Where am I getting ready today? What is up, everybody, and welcome into the pregame show presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated, number one rated sportsbook app. You can use promo code DNVR when you sign up, and of course, you're going to want to do that because just in like 20 minutes, our guy RK is going to give us bets you can't. I mean, Eric gives us bets.
We brought in the experts.
Sometimes we have Eric give us bets, and they never hit. But
he's just been handing out L's.
Handing out L's. So we're going to have some actual dubs coming in. Guys, the Nuggets are shorthanded. Everybody dropping like flies. The DNVR Nuggets are shorthanded. Everybody dropping like flies. But you know what? I feel like the core pieces for both are still in place.
Oh, it's good to be back. I'm glad I didn't miss anything here. Let me check my notes. Rookie almost outplays LeBron James in a big win over. Oh, I did miss something.
Spicy.
Big win. Big win.
I take issue with almost.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point. And over here, the man with the wind in his hair, fresh in studio, Harrison.
I'm just happy to be here in the presence of Brendan's haircut.
Thanks, man.
That's really what I'm most excited about tonight.
Coming up on your haircut.
Looking good.
Power rankings.
Quietly, Adam is in shambles that you didn't mention his haircut.
I don't expect it. I never expect it. I never expect it.
He gets haircuts, but you can never tell if he gets haircuts.
It's so offensive to me. But RK, thank you very much for pointing that out and for noticing it. Of course, RK over here.
I'm like 4 days deep on this one. That's kind of the sweet spot.
That is the sweet spot.
How often do you get haircuts?
That is the sweet spot.
I've been dying to know.
Every 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yo.
Yeah, I'm like 2 weeks.
I think that's pretty standard.
I'm about every 2 weeks.
We just got a starters tweet.
I'm a 3
We got a starters tweet? Oh, do we have some? All right, let's get into game notes, guys. Our first segment here.
When we'll have the rest of it, but this just broke. Nugget starters
I can't
at
wait.
point guard. Facundo Campazzo.
Let's go.
Jamal Murray at shooting guard. MPJ
I'm
at 3. JaMychal Green at 4. Nikola Jokic, starting center.
Wow.
This is a very, very, very fun starting five. So, I mean, this is the story. I'm going to go to you first, Harrison. We have the starting lineup, but the reason for this starting lineup is the Nuggets. This is a weird game, man. They're very shorthanded.
Well, we already knew Paul Millsap was going to be out. Will Barton still not with the team. Gary Harris out. PJ Dozier out. Maybe those guys could get back on this road trip. Monte Morris was ruled out as well, and he would be your default fifth starter, I would think. Maybe that was going to be RJ Hampton, I was thinking. You could keep Facu with the bench unit, but yeah, Facu alongside Jamal Murray, which opens up a whole nother can of worms because we on the show love Jamal Murray playing next to another point guard.
That's true.
So it's going to be fascinating, I think. The Celtics have some injuries as well. Daniel Tice is out. Marcus Smart also out. Romeo Langford also out. So both teams banged up, but Nikola Jokic should absolutely eat tonight.
So you get two good coaches, Brad Stevens, Michael Malone, guys that have been around. I mean, it's rare for people to hang around this long. Good coaches, and you get not a lot of strategy, I think, in this game. This almost becomes a little bit more of a street fight, more of a pickup game style. I'm not saying they're going to play pickup style basketball, but I'm just saying you go into a game with all right, here are the guys. Denver, you can't game plan. Who knows how the Nuggets don't even know how they're going to look with JaMychal Green and Campazzo with the starters. So that to me makes for a really exciting game. We get so caught up in can they win, can they lose? Tonight's a rare example, at least at this moment, where I'm coming into it just pure excited.
And those are some of our favorite Nuggets games, favorite Jokic games historically, right? Where they have no choice but to stay free-flowing, to just sort of play that loose brand of Denver Nuggets basketball. And also, from a fan perspective, never too bad when they're sort of forced to feed Jokic over and over again, as they will be tonight. So it could be one of those fun, good vibe games, or it could be a disaster, okay?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good vibe game. The only thing that worries me is that Facu played so well in the last game. It's always hard. It's hard to do it 2 times in a row. He was shooting well, but this stuff excites me. This is one of those games where it's just going to come down to who makes shots. That. It's as simple as that. You're not going to out scheme the other team. Right. It's just you have to just make shots.
So
they've been making. Well, I was just going to say, and the Nuggets have been making recently.
So I have a note on Facu in this game notes section. Nuggets love charting deflections. That's one of Michael Malone's core beliefs.
He does love it.
The coaching staff charts them during the game. He thinks it's a great just indicator on how active you are as a defense. And over the Nuggets' last 3 games, 3 wins. They held the Cavs and Thunder to 95 points, the Lakers to 105 points. Denver had 18 deflections per game, second most in the league over that span. Facu Campazzo had 7 deflections last game against the Lakers. Denver had 22 as a team.
That's crazy.
So Facu, I think, just kind of breeds that intensity.
He's the Shelby Harris of the Nuggets. Deflection
I like that.
king.
I like that.
He really is, though, man. Like, that is one thing about him. It's just we were laughing. My favorite play of the whole season of any player so far was the Campazzo sprint from one quarter to contest a shot on the other side, and then just comes flying back in the screen like a second later to contest a shot in the other corner.
Well, that's why I love to see him starting in this game, because I think you're just going to need to have that energy in this game. You
totally.
can't wait.
I love the decision, too. I love it.
And we've wondered since training camp, just based off the way Murray and other teammates talked about him, is this going to be an infectious guy? Is this going to be a guy that reminds them, hey, we're playing hoops, we're playing hard, we're playing for each other, and he's relentless in that way.
He's got to stay out of foul trouble. That's the one thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And we got the starters out of the way. Other game notes here. So backups are R.J. Hampton, Zeke Nnaji, Isaiah Hartenstein, Bol, Marcus Howard, Vlatko Cancar. Like those. That's it, right? Am I missing anybody? I don't think I am. I think that's the entirety of the Denver Nuggets roster. So it's going to be a weird one. And if Campazzo got into foul trouble tonight, Murray's going to play 43 minutes.
Right.
And we definitely want to try to avoid that. So let's get into some lineups now, because the story for the Nuggets has been playing shorthanded. And you start to look at it, you get an opportunity to get a look at some very fun lineups that maybe aren't necessarily good, but they're fun. I'm going to give you guys my first so you kind of know. It's a two-man lineup, and it's starting tonight. Facu, Jokic. We've seen a little bit of it. We haven't seen a ton. I think we're going to get a lot of it this game, maybe even going forward. And I'm excited because that's one that I think has the possibility of really popping and becoming a staple later on.
One I'm really looking forward to is Nnaji, Jokic, pretty much just Nnaji with the starters.
Yeah.
And more specifically, Nnaji at the 3, because I am just so fascinated about this potential development of Zeke Nnaji guarding opposing small forwards. And look, Celtics have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I want to see Nnaji guard those guys for a couple of possessions tonight. I just want to see how that goes. I don't know if it's going to go well. I don't know if it's going to go poorly, but I just want to see it. I just want to see him guard those guys a little bit.
How about a young core, old core
Let's do it.
Sort of mesh,
Let's
right?
do it.
I had Murray, RJ, MPJ, Zeke the Freak, we're now calling him on the show, friend of the show,
Friend of the show,
and Nikola Jokic. So you get the two cores kind of smashed together there.
And that was the one I wanted to touch on, which is Jokic and RJ. Because I think RJ, his basketball IQ is really high for a rookie.
Yeah.
And Jokic just loves playing with guys like that. And I think, that cutter, slasher, and then catch and shoot guy in the corner, I think there's a good match there. It's early for RJ, but I love, that lineup there is you're mixing new and old, but you're also mixing a lot of high IQ guys.
You think about that Monte cut that he's so good at, that give and go with Jokic, entry pass and then goes. If RJ can start to incorporate that into his game, he is too fast not to feast off that action.
Right,
right,
so
exactly.
RJ. It's a contested layup with Monte, but that can be an oop to RJ.
Right, it's what if Monte was 6'6" with massive hops?
Yeah. But to your point, that's one thing about that lineup. It's not just RJ. You also talked about Michael Porter in there. I do think there's something to give him a steadying force. Let's call it Facu, or Murray, either one of those guys. You give RJ and Michael Porter, that's two more elite athletes, elite backdoor cuts. And then whether it's JaMychal Green, Zeke Nnaji, whatever, Bol even, you get somebody that's going to be a knockdown spot-up shooter so you have space. And I think it works. It is funny. These games, we've seen them over the 6 years Jokic has been here. It does seem like there's a short runway for this. I don't think this works for months and months. But when you get 2-3 games where it's the guys that are around him are guys that know their spot in the pecking order. It's Jokic up here. RJ knows he's down here. It just works, especially for a couple games. You get it where Jokic is touching the ball nonstop, and he gets to play like Peyton Manning, just throwing it to just new receivers on every single play.
Yeah, it's fascinating because Jokic leads the NBA in touches this season.
Right.
Sabonis was in the lead, but Jokic's caught him in just touches per game. So he's already the hub of the 5th best offense in the league. He's even going to be a bigger hub.
Yep.
He's going to have more people in his orbit, a stronger orbit.
Right.
If you will.
There's nothing that drives me more crazy than when the Nuggets have an empty possession and he didn't touch the ball.
Oh, that's the worst.
So everyone should just, when you had basketball practice and the coach would say 4 passes before anyone can shoot or whatever, that's what Malone should do. But it's just one pass. It has to go to Jokic before anyone can do it.
Or at least a screen. Even if you don't find him, he at least has to be setting the screen or something involved in it.
Just no plays where he starts in the corner. Ban them. Ban them from the playbook.
Leads the league in touches, arguably not enough. Just feeding.
Jokic, Hartenstein, I don't think we're going to see it tonight because Boston without Tice, they're tiny. I mean, they were tiny before this. They're really tiny. But Jokic,
Taco. Potentially.
Well, yeah, maybe they're enormous. Maybe they're actually the biggest team ever.
I don't know.
Which, I mean, there's, I guess, a little Boban potential, although probably he's not nearly as
Bull
good as Boban.
Taco. Someone tell Worldwide Wob.
I know. It's
Taco's in his
incredible.
mind.
But Jokic Hartenstein, I thought maybe we would see this a little bit. We haven't seen it so far. Probably won't see it tonight, but I don't know. Maybe at some point. Are there other lineup combos that you're really curious to catch?
I mean, anything with Bowl in it.
I mean, yeah, I'm just curious if how much Bowl we're going to see tonight, if we're going to see him at all. He's kind of the forgotten guy right now on this roster.
Have forgotten him.
Which is crazy because...
We've moved on emotionally, I feel.
Yeah, from where he started this season, I feel like, and just the... in like a power rankings of how intrigued we were by the guys, he was near the top.
Well,
and he's fallen off for sure.
The team, to your point, the team was telling us he was going to play, and then he did. One of the first early opportunities to mix things up, they started Bowl
against Kevin Durant.
I don't know if something changed or what, but I mean, clearly he's on the outside looking in.
Hard for him to stand out because of how much energy the other young guys bring. Like, he's not an energy guy.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, I think. I mean, that is how you stand out.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a young guy and you're only getting little opportunities here and there. Yeah, I'm with you.
A lot of shooting, though, on the court. I mean, if you talk about, if we just go down the list, Campazzo, not a great shooter, but reliable. Like, he can knock it down when he's open. Jamal Murray, very good shooter. You've got in the rotation, RJ maybe not so much, but Michael Porter, JaMychal Green, Bowles, Zeke, there's not a lot of guys that you're going to plug in that are like, ooh, he's hot or cold tonight. So we'll see what happens. Let's play a little buy or sell, guys. Some weird things have happened over this last little bit. The Celtics right now are 13-13. Not sure they're a good enough organization and have a good enough coach, good enough star players, and enough talent that I think you give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but are they contenders? Are you buying the Boston Celtics as a team that can become, maybe not right now, but can become contenders by the playoffs?
I think they're fringe contenders. I think there's something kind of close to like a Denver Nuggets start right now.
Okay.
I don't know their entire situation. Obviously, Tatum dealing with COVID complications right now. They haven't been healthy throughout the season. This is a team I think when whole is well equipped to play good playoff basketball. I don't think they're a tier 1 contender, anything like that, but can they make noise in a playoff run? I mean, I'm not burying them because they're 500 right now.
Right.
To me, they're just missing something. And like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, like they have these guys. I just think in the same way that they're a tier 2 contender, those are like tier 2 NBA stars. Yeah. And it just feels like they don't have like the extra ingredient that you need to take a group of those guys and get them over the top. All these eras need teams that just make the playoffs and then eventually lose to the best teams, and I just feel like that's who they are.
Yeah. Gordon Hayward, nobody's really talking about this. He's having a little bit of a Jeremy Grant-esque resurgence in Charlotte.
Yep.
He's actually career highs all across the board for him in terms of in scoring metrics. Are you buying contender status?
Probably not. I don't think they're a contender. No, I agree with what RK said. They're missing something, and they probably thought that missing thing was going to be Kemba Walker, but he's not like the Kemba Walker that he's been, and maybe he never will be again. So
they are getting a hell of a season from Jaylen Brown so far.
He's been incredible.
Obviously, like from the Nuggets' perspective, you would just look at this whole thing and say, well, Jokic is playing at a really high level, so we're not too worried. From a Boston perspective, you go, okay, well, when Tatum's healthy, with Brown playing at this level, those are two-way guys that we at least feel comfortable matching up with some of these teams out east.
Those guys have a lot of, for lack of a better term, Murray nights, though, where you just look and you're like, how did Brown have 8 points tonight?
Right.
Like, what happened? Like it feels like they're in that same stage of just like, man, if you could just do that consistently, this team would have a different outlook.
It's gonna be so funny who guards those guys tonight, though.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the matchups going to look like? They should have, in theory, very easy matchups, but we'll see how it goes. Are you guys buying or selling Zeke Nnaji's lockdown defense? You brought this up earlier. We've only seen it one game, but it was against LeBron James. It only gets easier from there. I got to assume. I'll start with you this time, Harrison.
So I'm gonna buy it.
Okay.
I'm gonna buy it. Now, I don't know if he's gonna be Jeremy Grant, but I think he's going to be a very good defender. And the biggest reason why is because he's super high IQ guy.
Yeah.
He's a high IQ player. He's a student of the game. He's a grinder. He works and watches film. And if you look at him and just the level he was playing at defensively, just stepping into the rotation for the first time after not playing at all over the first 2 months. That was pretty telling to me. And you've got other guys on this roster who have been playing for the entire season who still are making very elementary mistakes on the defensive end of the floor. So I think he's starting at a really high floor defensively.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, what are the things that hold you back on defense? Basketball IQ, physical abilities, and want to. Well, none of those things are going to hold him back. Like you said, he's a high basketball IQ player. Physically, he's not special.
He's strong, though.
Yeah. He is so strong for a rookie, man. Yeah. Look at him and his body compared to a lot of rookies.
Yeah, but he's not
it's
Giannis,
wild.
to your point.
Right, or even like Jeremy Grant in terms of his length and jumping ability.
A guy I've compared him to, this is now the second time in the last 24 hours, is OG Anunoby, who, again, is a great defender and is athletic in a specific way, not in every way, but he's athletic in that he's just stronger than most guys.
Yeah.
Right, and he brings the energy at all times. So, that's the number one thing that stops people on defense is just wanting to be really good on defense. And he certainly doesn't have that issue.
You buying this?
I might sell on the lockdown moniker, but I'm buying that the Nuggets were right, that this guy has more versatility at the NBA level than those early scouting reports indicated. Again, not everyone felt that way. A lot of people watched Nnaji and thought this guy can play great D, but he just wasn't looked at as a guy who could necessarily move his feet. The Nuggets looked at him that way, and they're getting that out of him so far.
And that strength can take you a long way. I mean, look at what Paul Millsap did against Giannis the other night. Like he was strong enough to hold his own there. And Zeke's only going to get stronger.
Yeah. I would put it this way. What I'm buying, I think people look at defense. We see this most with Jokic. They look at it as this one thing. You either are or are not a good defensive player. And I think Jokic is like elite at certain aspects of defense, and he's horrible at other parts of it. And I think people key in on the he just got beat by so-and-so on the perimeter worse than most guys do. But he does a lot of things well. I think Zeke is a guy that I'm buying him as a lockdown defender, meaning I'm buying him as an on-ball guy. Like you stick him on a LeBron type or whatever, and he's going to give you the best effort on the team, and he's going to have a good effect. The other aspects of the game, the rim protection, the stuff, I think he's actually a little weak in some of those right now, and so I don't know that he's going to be an all-around. But guess what? That's why it's funny we're comparing him to Jeremy Grant, because I think Jeremy Grant was actually a bad defensive player for the Nuggets last year. Overall, what he was really good at was sticking to one guy and okay, you got to do this. Right. And Denver actually needed that quite a bit in a playoff series.
Can we circle back to the Jokic thing?
Sure.
Because I heard the Zach Lowe clip today where he was very complimentary of Jokic. But there's this thing that happens in the national media that really gets under my nerves, which is now it's a compliment to call Jokic just an average defender, because it used to be, he's so bad at defense. Well, now it's he's actually average on defense. And I just think that's wrong. I think he's actually very good at defense.
Yeah. It's tough, man. I agree with you. His weaknesses are just so glaring, and I think everybody projects those weaknesses onto a playoff series. He's going to get exploited by this. And he kind of did against the Utah Jazz before Gary Harris arrived. The Nuggets were getting carved up in large part by placing him in pick and roll. So I push back a little bit on it, but at the same time, you guys know my take. I think he's very good overall. Obviously, elite offensively and very good.
He's not playing on a roster that's meant to build around his strengths defensively or mitigate his weaknesses. Point of attack defense is lacking, and they literally don't have wings. So it's hasn't always been.
That's exactly true, man.
They didn't lose to Portland because Yoke couldn't cover enough ground in that spread pick and roll. They lost because guys weren't tall enough to cover Rodney Hood. He
can't make up for players' mistakes on that end the way a Gobert can or something like this. Yeah. But he does. But if you don't make mistakes, he can be elite at being one of five guys on a string.
I also think part of the Zach Lowe thing was he was comparing him to Joel Embiid,
right?
And Joel Embiid is the biggest game-changing defender in the league right now. But yeah, Jokic is above average defensively.
We're getting there because it used to be bad. Now he's actually average. I think eventually people are going to realize he's actually a very good defender in most scenarios.
They won't. They actually won't. They just never will. He'll have 7 championships, and they'll still be well, I don't know. Zeke Nnaji is the best shooter on the Denver Nuggets roster, guys. Are we buying this? He's 9 of 15.
All right, my guy Voya from the Serbia the Nuggets Serbia podcast, he says he's the best shooter on the team. I gotta say, if Voya's this convinced, I'm in. I'm in.
Is 15 shots enough of a sample size for you, RK?
No, I'm selling this.
Okay.
I don't want to sound down on his shooting. I mean, he's certainly in the circle of trust when it comes to who you want shooting a wide open 3-point. But it's got to be Michael Porter Jr. Like, just the way that the way that the ball releases out of his hands, how fast he can get it up. There was one the other night where he caught it like low. Yeah. And I was like, that's a death sentence for a shooter, and it's just like cash.
And that slow-mo video that Laker Film Room sent us of him shooting, it's just like, it really is textbook, man. Like, great balance, great release. Count backwards for me. Best shooters until you get to Zeke Nnaji on the Nuggets roster.
Well, I was going to put him 2.
Oh, so this will be a quick list.
All right, go ahead. What's your list?
Let's hear it.
Zeke Nnaji and then Michael Porter Jr. are my 2-1. Before that,
the only confusing way you could have said 2.
Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah, but like RK said, Michael Porter Jr. is the best shooter on the Nuggets roster. Okay. He just is. He's one of the best shooters in the league.
But you're already ready to give Zeke. We should quantify this.
Who else
we should
would
quantify
be
this.
Two?
We should quantify Marcus Howard. Maybe I don't know. I know he's not shooting.
You guys know that I'm not sold. He's a good shooter yet.
Yeah,
Marcus Howard.
It's so funny.
Well, he is a shooter. He does shoot. I'll tell you that.
Marcus Howard over under 2.5 points tonight.
Over? Are you kidding? Like he might have to play, and if he plays any amount of minutes, he's taking shots.
He's also the only Marcus playing tonight.
Oh, in Boston.
God.
Not for Boston.
Are the Celtics going to try to trade for him after this game?
My goodness. All right. Last one I have, and this has nothing to do with the game. I just wanted to take the temperature here. Utah Jazz. Title, best team in the NBA. Right now, they've only lost 5 games. Isn't this wild? What are they, like 23-5? 19 out of 20. That one loss, of course, to Denver. Are we buying the Utah Jazz?
No. Because the Nuggets are their kryptonite. They're the ones stopping them from whatever they're 20 in a row or something for the Nuggets. So I'm not buying it. I get like post Nuggets after the Melo trade vibes from them, like just very, very good regular season team.
This is crazy.
So I was gonna say I'm also selling them as championship.
Such big market energy.
I know we always do this to our fellow Utahns.
The Jazz right now remind me of. And they're better than this team, but the Nuggets after they lost Game 82 to the Timberwolves.
Okay,
because the Jazz choked that 3-1 series lead. They probably spent the entire offseason.
They played a better team.
Well, they still choked. They were up 3-1 in the third quarter of Game 5. They spent the whole offseason thinking about that loss. It ate at them, and they've come out super, super focused, and they're really good. But I think they're the 4th best playoff team in the West.
They're burning too high right now.
I think they're playing the best basketball of anyone in the league right now. That's undeniable. Their best player, Donovan Mitchell, is he a top 10 player?
They have like 3 guys that are really good though, and Mitchell, Conley, and Gobert.
Their best guys. What is he? Top 15, top 20?
He can reach that. He reached the Murray level.
Sure, that's a very good point.
Gobert let him down. I don't know what to say.
I don't want to go too big market, but like in the playoffs, the top and the second top layer is like, who are your best players?
This is the only reason I wrote this one down. People are probably wondering why are we talking about the Jazz. Here's why. Last year, the Nuggets beat the Jazz in the playoffs and get almost no credit for it because, as you mentioned, they choked it away. It was all about the Utah Jazz. And the Utah Jazz weren't even good. People say Denver struggled against Utah. I actually think Utah was a good team last year. I think they're a great team this year, in large part because of what you said. They got that extra motivation. And I'm sitting here thinking, Denver beat Utah last year, the Clippers last year. Last year, everybody thought the Clippers were the best team or second best team anyway. Denver beats them, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, the Clippers actually weren't good. This year, they're good again. They're only not good when Denver's beating them in the playoff series. And the same with Utah. I think Denver beat 2 great teams in the playoffs last year, and it went a little under the radar, in part because Denver beat them.
I wouldn't call Utah a great team in the playoffs last season. They were missing Bogdanovich, their 3rd best player at the time. I wouldn't call them a great team. They were good.
I think if they advanced to the next round, they would have given the Clippers a run for their money. Maybe even beat them. This is what I'm saying. I think they're better than people thought, and they're seeing it now. Now it's like, oh, well, now the Utah Jazz good. Same roster.
Well, now Mike Conley is a playable player.
He was a playable player last year.
He was terrible last year.
Well, what did he shoot in the playoffs?
I mean, he was like nowhere. 45%. He was nowhere near the impactful player he is right now.
I'm actually with Wind on that one.
I just want to say, because of that motivation that they derived from the loss of the Nuggets, I think they're burning too hot right now, and they're going to burn out eventually.
All right, let's do our favorite part of the show here, guys, where we open up the draft. We went way too long arguing about the Utah Jazz. I apologize, everyone. We got to go quickly here through the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Again, don't forget, if you do download it, and we highly recommend you do, use that promo code DNVR. RK, you're the expert here. Walk us through these lines. What's the game line looking like?
I need wins, RK. I need
Yeah,
wins.
well, the Nuggets are underdogs tonight, and I
It's
don't
wild.
think that's
I have them in like
thing.
5 teasers.
Yeah, I don't think it's a smart for them to be underdogs. So I like the money line at plus 108.
Man, the money line, huh? All right, you know what? F it, let's do it. I'm going to put a unit on it. We get good value.
But my play of the night, and this is just something I always do. I just look at who they're playing. I say, okay, are they singling or doubling Jokic? If they're singling him, I take his points. If they're doubling him, I take his assists.
Simple formula.
It's like a very simple formula. They're going to have to double him tonight.
They're going to double him.
And so I think he's just going to be diamond guys up all over the place. It's only at 7.5. He's gone over 9 in 3 consecutive games, 9 or more in 3 consecutive games. So I think that's a good play tonight.
So here's the thing. I agree with you. They're going to double him. He's going to be kicking out. But who's going to rebound? I have a feeling this might be a big rebound putback game for Jokic just because he's going to be able to collapse that defense. They're going to have to scramble to contest shots, and he's just going to be a monster in there amongst a bunch of – I mean, even if Taco's in there, like there's stuff he can do mobility-wise.
This was the case against the Lakers. I took note. He was super aggressive on the offensive glass. He picked up Marc Gasol's second foul in the first quarter, I think, and then he was making Anthony Davis work, and I think wore Davis out a little before he left the game, just – pounding the offensive glass.
So I like his assists. You like his rebounds.
Yeah.
He always scores 10 points.
What are you getting at here?
I'm just saying, do we like the triple-double?
As we were talking, I just took the triple-double, plus 280. Now it's plus 280. It means you get good odds.
Oh, that's gone down. It was plus 335 when we were on.
Oh, man, everybody betting against it. I'm telling you.
We bet it down.
We bet it
Just like
down.
that.
I'm telling you.
I've got kind of a downer one, guys, but Jaylen Brown, who's guarding him tonight from the Denver perspective?
I mean, who's guarding Tatum as well? Like, it's
I know,
gonna be...
for sure.
So then do you like the over?
I think I like the over on Brown.
But just the over in the game at 223.
Ooh.
They can't guard Jokic. The Nuggets can't guard their 2 best players. Where are we headed here? Shootout?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a bunch of,
Clunky.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like
gonna be
Facu's
super
throwing up
slow
bricks
pace.
and Zeke loses the touch.
You know what? We're getting a lot of Facu minutes with Jokic. I actually could see Denver generating a lot of really good open catch and shoot threes tonight. So I could see, as I just took as you were talking, Michael Porter's 2.5 threes. I know I told you this last time, everybody, and I was wrong, but I'm telling you it again, and this time I am right.
It's like a slot machine, dude. You just got to keep
You just
playing.
got to keep
Eventually it's
going. You
gonna
got to
hit.
play through your losses.
RK, do I take this over 222.5?
I like taking overs in Nuggets games.
Let's do it.
Overs always require constant math.
You do a lot of math.
You do a lot of math. You're watching the game and you're just mathing the whole time.
But it's not as bad as taking an under, where you're
That's
just
true.
like, because
don't score, nobody score. Really hope everybody bricks. Nobody else likes Michael Porter 15.5 point. He's the funnest to bet on because he's like usually way over it or way under it.
It seems like he should be getting over 15.5 points every game. I don't know how the heck he doesn't, but
He's got to get it tonight, right?
yeah, he's got to get it tonight.
No Marcus Smart in the game. Jamal Murray 20.5 points.
But does he draw Jaylen Brown anyway, who's a very good defender, who does not have, I mean, they'll probably go Tatum on MPJ? I don't know.
He sees those green jerseys, though. He starts thinking about 50.
Ooh, he does start thinking about 50.
Kemba Walker just punched the ball out of the
I like Jamal Murray tonight. I like Jokic's points. I don't think he goes for the. Maybe he goes for a ton of points tonight. Jokic is every time I ever think like Jokic will rebound and assist, but he won't score. And then he's like 50, 17, and 7 or something. You're like, well, he did it all.
We'll know in the first 2 minutes of this game. I guarantee you.
What a fun game! I'm looking forward to it. Like, look, obviously,
wait.
I hope the Nuggets win tonight, as I hope they always win. But tonight, there's just going to be so many fun things. It's fun story. I hope, knock on wood, fun storyline. So, whatever happens, guys, we're going to be right back here in the post game lounge talking to you guys. It's an early one tonight, so it's kind of nice. It won't be sunny up, will it?
No,
It won't
be
still
dark.
be sunny.
when we
It'll
get
still be
home,
dark.
but it won't be next morning.
But we'll be cheerful one way or another. So we'll see you guys post game. Don't forget, hit that like button. We'll see you in the post game.
Thanks for hanging.